One. And we are recording and streaming with Dr. Dale Comstock on Tuesday, February 25th, 2025 at 10:45 a.m. Eastern Time, and it is late as fuck where Dale is, which is yeah, right. I got up and I was like, yeah, I'll try to start this earlier, and then I was coming back from the gym. I'm like, wait, it's late as fuck there, so that I just came straight from the gym to here. Dale's been on here a zillion times before. Guys, go in the description. Please buy his book, American Badass. We had on Matt Kubler last week, and we both fanboyed on Dale like a couple of faggots. And you guys can go to the description, follow his Instagram, motivational speaking, all that good shit, and just opened a bar. But uh, Dale's done many things. Opening bar, I was going to say, is probably your newest thing to your repertoire. But I think everyone saw last week. It's got like 50 or 60 million views on Twitter now. Was the new robot called Protoclone, which isn't. I mean, the Boston Dynamics shit have been out for well over a year, or not a year, excuse me, a decade. Those are kind of clunky. This is the first one that I've seen where I actually kind of got like an uncanny valley because it has 1,000 synthetic muscle fibers and it's actually moving in a and the thing that got me was as soon as I saw that I'm like, well, okay, well, number one, there's no way this company is not already being heavily funded or bought out by the DoD. And number two, whatever the fuck I'm seeing is probably already uh, declassified and old. The very first is just it's I think it's a human response where you're looking essentially at your successor and you're going, how do I kill that thing? And as always, I know Dale. Car bomb, hey, I know a bomb guy called Dale. Assassination, I know an assassination guy called Dale. Fucking how to kill a robot. I'm like, well, Dale knows how to kill everything else. So that's all I have, and I'm gonna hand it to you because you said you actually had some thoughts on that. So
Yeah, so when you look at man, how fast we've been moving with robots, right? And then now AI, and now we have AI that has self-awareness, innocence, right? So that's the scary part. So now we have artificial intelligence that knows it exists. And now we've got robots, and these robots are, I mean, they're basically androids now. I mean, literally, the day is coming where we're gonna put bioidentical skin on them, right? We're gonna make skin, human skin. We're literally gonna make androids. And here's the craziest part is they're predicting. I say they, a lot of scientists think that by the year 2050, 2060, you will be able to upload your mind
hmm
on a hard drive, right? And then think about this for a minute. It's in a hard drive in a computer. Um, and why is that even possible? Well, it's very simple because your mind, your brain, right, is nothing more than it's like a quantum computer to 100x, right? And it functions like a computer, just needs energy. It's all it needs is power, and we produce our own bioelectricity in order to think and move our body parts. And everything on this planet is energy. Everything is frequency. There's nothing actually solid. Even every solid thing that you basically are touching right now, to include your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your wife, or your kids, literally down at the level of the atoms, there's space between all of them, and all those atoms are vibrating. It's called the law of vibration. They're all actually moving. It's frequency. And so when you look at it like that and you realize we live in what's called the electric universe, right? We literally, everything is frequency, everything is energy. Then why can't we upload our brain? And by the way, the brain and mind are two different things. We conflate that, the brain and mind, but the brain is something that has substance, right? We can touch it, we can feel it's got weight to it. It's a thing, it's an organ. But the mind, what is the mind? And I've conferred with quite a few neuropsychologists and others in this field, and they all agree the brain and mind are two different things. In fact, the mind, you can't really say the mind is part of the brain because it's actually part of the entire nervous system. That's the amazing part. In fact, if you were to look at, for example, go all the way down to the DNA level, even our DNA has self-awareness and consciousness. In fact, it's got information in there dating back over 6 billion years. worth of information there. Microsoft's been messing around with this stuff, downloading, uploading information through DNA. They've been doing quite a bit of this, but what we do know is that um, literally the history of the universe, at least the history of Earth and this our existence, is all recorded at the DNA level. And it's all because of, again, because of energy and frequency. So imagine in 20, 30, 40 years from now, you can upload your mind, your you, into a hard drive, right? Maybe make duplicate copies in case your kids lose one of the thumb drives or
Yeah.
something, right? But and literally you could literally exist inside of a computer. And now if you could take this hard drive and now install it into a robot, right? That has, bioidentical skin, and looks like a real human, a real android. Could you imagine living inside of a robot? You're still existing, but if you're no longer you're no longer biological, human flesh and bone, but you're in a machine
Hmm.
that acts like a human being, that has self-awareness. Um, that's just really, and you know what? Remember when Terminator came out and The Matrix came out, all this seemed like some really, far-fetched, science mumbo jumbo shit that would never ever happen. But here we are. It's happening, right? It's literally happening. We've got, we don't have quite Skynet, but we have basically we have an AI system that knows it exists and can manipulate things now. We're building robots to basically to our own demise, man. I mean, to our own peril. We're going to be replacing ourselves with robots. Um, and and maybe we will, and maybe we won't. You could argue, what if we all had robots to do the work for us, and all we have to do is live and have a good time? We need money, but I'm pretty sure if we can figure out how to make robots to do all the work, we can figure out how to compensate everybody,
Hmm.
so we can all have all the things we want in life, right?
Hmm.
There's always going to be the dirt bags, and the globalists and the politicians. They're going to try to manipulate and control us. But aside from that, if we can manage those assholes, we would literally be living in a utopia when you think about it. Um, but on the other hand, you remember AI is it's basically AI is possible because it has taken all the data, all the information that's out on the internet, um, that's ever been in any way been, communicated by humans. It's taken all this information, it's compiling it, and that's how it creates this intelligence, right? With that said, though, you know, human nature, look, humans say some really bad and nasty things on the internet. They do terrible things on the internet. So I would argue that AI could probably learn that bullshit too.
Hmm.
And be an evil side to AI too, right? So, if it's going to adopt our characteristics and our information and our intelligence, it has the potential to have all of that, man. And yeah, Skynet could become a reality. But I think it's just fascinating the world of, I mean, when you look at, I mean, just look at the last 3 years, man, since AI really kind of came out front and center. 3 years ago, like, what AI? What does that mean? And then here we are. Now we have AI that knows it exists, right? I mean, and we're using it every day now. I'm constantly using it. I'm just amazed that this machine, this system is smarter than me, can write better than me. And it knows shit. It knows lots of stuff. I'm like, and then you think about drones, man. I mean, look at the drone and the drone warfare, holy cow, man. I mean, this is not the time to be a soldier anymore, man, on the battlefield, because you got no chance. You're fighting drones, you're fighting unmanned vehicles, and all these different types of delivery systems. We are kind of in Skynet mode, man. Um, it's
Even even what's commercially free. I think Christmas 2022, I think. Me and my older brother were hanging out. We were just getting fucked up and we were playing with some like image generator. And we just it was like Dick Cheney drinking whiskey with Santa Claus. And it was like the more in depth you got, the harder it was to make. If you kept it simple, it could kind of do it. But even then, the resolution was low. It kind of looked like a shitty watercolor painting. And this is like, what's free. What's free now is like photorealistic. I could
Yeah.
feed it, two screenshots from this, and I'd be like, Tommy and Dale on Santa's sleigh with a 50 cal, shooting
Well,
at providing close air support in Mogadishu. And it would be like 8K resolution. You can even do like image to video. That's 2 years, and that's what's free, and that's what's declassified.
yeah.
That's fucked, man.
Yeah. Now we are moving at light speed now, man.
Yeah.
I mean, we're covering a lot of ground super fast. To what end? Who knows, man? If it'll be to our demise, or if or it will be to the path to utopia, if there's such a place. Um, I don't know, man. On one hand, it's really exciting. The exciting part for me is knowing that it's possible, it'll be possible someday for us to continue to exist, or who we are, our essence, will still be able to exist in a computer or in a robot and still function. That's what's really amazing, man. And you think about it, man, you could like have eternal life. You could live
Yeah.
forever, you
Or you
know?
could you could just you could check out when you're ready.
Yeah,
Maybe it's you do it and you go, oh, around like 120 years old or something. You're like, I'm ready for whatever's after this. Or maybe there's nothing, but I mean, you just think of how many people have to bury their parents young, and it's like that fucking sucks, right?
yeah,
That's like a legitimate. Very rarely do I think my grandma maybe, but like very rarely does somebody pass and you're like, they lived a long life, they weren't suffering, they had a beautiful family, they were surrounded by family at their death. That's like 1% of 1% of 1% of people.
yeah, yeah. Um, you said you threw out the number 120. It's estimated now that if you're still alive in 5 years from now, then you could potentially live to be 120 to 150 years old. Because
Longevity escape. Sorry to keep interrupting. I used to read about this shit all the time. Longevity escape velocity. Yeah, Terry Grossman and Ray Kurzweil used to write about it early 2010s. 20. Yeah, if you can just stay alive a little longer, then like right now, I think we add like a month of life expectancy for every year of research, but that's accelerating too. And so once it reaches for every year, we add a year, you've broken, and it's like orbital velocity,
yeah,
you've broken the orbit. And then it's in 10 years, it might be we add 5 years of life expectancy for every year of living. So then it's not that it's some sci-fi shit in 2500. So if you make it to like 2030 and you're not dead broke, you might live for hundreds of years.
yeah.
It's insane.
Well, yeah, because look, even if you look at it from a creationist perspective, there's a time in the Bible that humans lived, be 500, 600 years old. If you look at it from an evolutionist perspective, scientists believe the body's capable of living to be at least 150 plus years old, right? And again, with the advancement of things like stem cells, telomeres, that's what the point is. In the next 5 years, you're going to see more advancements in these areas, plus AI, and AI being able to diagnose you with whatever diseases you have and give you the proper, remedy, to cure yourself. Um, that's really amazing, man. That really, I definitely want to hang around for that. And I don't know what else it could be like to live in a computer for the rest of my life, but maybe a robot would be kind of cool. But even robots, I mean, I believe the day of androids where robots will almost be bioidentical humans. They'll
Sure.
be look, pain, right? Our bodies don't feel pain. The brain feels pain. That's it, right? So all our emotions are really the province of the mind, and And so literally you could program a mind, a computer, so it has all the emotions and feelings and pains and all the pleasures that humans, experience. I don't see why you couldn't duplicate that, right? You could have all those things. Um, I know you could. I mean, it's like I said, the research on this is moving so fast. It's almost impossible to keep up with it. Which, like I said, kind of makes you wonder how's this going to end and how fast, or does it end, and where do we end up, you know? But I just think, you know. I do believe we can live, in this case, we can live forever. I think we already live forever, and here's the thing, right? So, you know, the question is what happens to us, when we die? And, you know, the body is nothing more than simple carbon-based matter. It's just going to turn into fertilizer, right? But what happens to your energy from within, right? We all have energy. That's what allows us to think, move, and everything, right? It's energy. So if you think about the law of thermodynamics, energy cannot be created nor destroyed. It can only be transferred. So what happens to the energy inside of our body when I die? Where does it go? Right?
Doesn't, yeah, the pattern echoes somewhere.
So I think what it does is it goes back into the ether, back into the universe. And I think I'd like to believe that it keeps its integrity. Somehow this energy doesn't get diffused, but I think I would think, and I surmise that our energy, our spirit, stays together. And we, you know what, and we intuitively use words like spirit, ghost, Holy Ghost. I think we intuitively all know that we never really die, and that our spirit is nothing more than our energy and it carries on after death. I think we all know that somehow intuitively. It's almost like it's lost knowledge. When the turn of the Industrial Revolution, and then, the advent of cell phones and computers, calculators do all the calculating for us. Now we have AI, AI does all the thinking for us. We've kind of lost touch with, what it means to be human, and to trust our intuition, um, and kind of rely on our instincts. We've just kind of forgone all that, and most people are living just like mindless freaking machines every day, which is really amazing when you look at some of the things people say that actually have an education. It's like, it's true. Elon Musk said it. You can buy an education, but you can't buy intelligence, but nonetheless, the essence of who we are, I believe, lives on somehow. When we talk about the Spirit, the Holy Spirit, Dale's here with us in spirit, right? It's because we know
Yeah.
we are, we continue to exist. I had a story I shared with you one time. It's kind of a sad story, but I had to share the story. Um, so um, I trained a young man a couple years ago. Actually a couple of them, and actually one of them was, ready for this. He was a Jewish millionaire who was 28 years old, very intelligent, really good guy. His father called me and said, "Hey, I want you to train my son and prepare him for, the world out there," because he taught him everything he could teach him. I mean, the father was a medical doctor. They were very affluent, and he goes, the survival skills. He goes, that's what I can't teach my kid, and I would like for you to do it. So he sent me his son for a couple months, and paid me a lot of money. And actually, I had another guy come to class, also 28-year-old, ready for this, Catholic priest, and they were both roommates, right? And so, anyways, really, it was a really good time. We trained for 2 months, and then when we went our separate ways, I never heard back from his name was Robert, the Jewish guy, and kind of sporadic communications, and then just completely nothing. Right after a while, and about a year later, I called his dad. I go, "Hey man, I'm just curious. I'm trying to get a hold of Robert, but I haven't heard from him." And he said, "No, Robert passed away like 4 months ago." Uh, and this was actually the same time Hamas went into Israel, right? And I thought, shit, don't tell me he went over there and got dunced somehow. Thought he had some skills now, and because I taught him a lot of stuff.
Mm.
shooting, a lot of stuff, and I thought, man, hopefully he didn't do something stupid like that. And then his dad made a comment. He didn't want to tell me what happened, but he essentially said something, oh, my son, he's always trying to help the little guy, And I said, don't tell me he did something and got himself killed trying to help somebody. I don't know. But, but his dad said, listen, he goes, when you come to Miami, he goes, let me know, and my wife and I would like to take you out for dinner, and and we'll tell you what happened. They weren't ready to talk about it at that moment. It's only 4 months, right?
Sure.
And I could tell it was really bothering the
Yeah.
shit out of him. So actually, I did go and see him back in I want to say November. So it was over a year and a half later, after all this, or a year and a half later, and I finally made it to Miami. I called his mother and his father, said, hey, I'm in town. I actually have my daughter with me, my oldest daughter, not my oldest, but one of my older daughters. And I was actually down there doing some business. And I said, hey, I'm on my way out of town, but perhaps we can link up and, and chat, have a sandwich or whatever, right? And so we ended up meeting him at a really nice restaurant, and a great couple, man. Just really awesome parents. They were from Belarus, and just very distinguished and just very grounded, very good people, man. That's the only way I can describe them. And I sat across from with my daughter, and you know, we talked about a lot of things, but we talked about everything but Robert at this point, right? And then finally, I had to bring up the conversation. I said, listen, there's no way I can get on the road and drive back to Panama City Beach for the next 12 hours
Yeah.
and not know what hell happened with Robert, right? So I said, I gotta ask what happened, right? And so this is the craziest story ever. So, um, so the parents went on vacation to Europe. Robert stayed at their house. Robert was really very intellectual, very intelligent. In fact, he was getting ready to go through his PhD program, and very fit. Just, always trying to eat the right thing, trying to be the best human he could possibly be. And I really appreciated that about him. And so while they were gone, well, let me put this one. When they came back, they found their son dead on the kitchen floor, right? And what happened was the father was a medical doctor. He noticed in the freezer what there were quails, right? And so what he kind of figured out was his son ate the quail eggs raw. I guess he thought it was like fucking, Rocky Balboa or
Yeah.
something. Uh, so the problem was, here's what happens, and this is scary for anybody out there listening. Be very careful with quail eggs, because in America, in certain regions, quail actually eat hemlock. Hemlock's one of the most
Yeah,
poisonous.
isn't that that's how they killed
Socrates.
Socrates? Yeah.
Yeah, right. So, but
Oh,
quail eggs are immune to the hemlock, and they eat the seeds,
so
and
they
it doesn't
just
do it,
oh.
right? And so, but apparently he got some eggs from some birds in a certain region that were eating hemlock seeds and passing on to the eggs, and then that's what actually happened. He ate the eggs, was poisoned, and apparently, as the father described to me, I kind of Googled it a little bit. I couldn't say the damn name, big ass name, but um, I guess what it does immediately shuts down your kidneys. It just wrecks them. I mean, like right off the bat, just wipes them out, man. And then, now you got kidney failure and water retention and all this shit's happening, and toxic levels are building up. And he probably didn't realize he was dying. He probably thought that, man, I feel like shit, like I got the
Yeah.
flu, or I want to go to sleep. And that's actually one of the things about kidney disease, man, because my wife suffered from that. My father passed away from kidney failure. Is when you get kidney failure, I hate to say it, but it's almost a painless way to die, because you're poisoning yourself from within, and you just want to go to sleep,
Yeah.
right? And you're always tired. That was the case with my wife. And every time she would eat, like particularly meat, she would throw it back up. And so the doctors thought she had some kind of stomach virus. Turns out, when you eat, if you have kidney disease or kidney failure, your body's smart, right? It goes, hey man, we can't digest this protein, and makes you throw it back up, right? But if you don't realize that, you might think, well, I just got the stomach flu. I keep throwing my food up, right? And that's what happened to my wife. My wife weighs 88 pounds, but when that happened to her, she was down about 60 pounds. I mean, it looks like she was out of Auschwitz, man. She has nothing but skin and bones, you know. And luckily, a friend of mine came over, realized something's really wrong, and carried her off to the hospital. But anyways, where I was going with the story was, um, you know, they wanted to hear about the training, that I put, Robert through, and I just wanted to hear the stories. They wanted to know, so I told them about everything, and then and then his mom, I could just see they were hanging on every word, everything I said. They're just locked on, man. They just, and I could see the hearts were really, really broken still. And then his mom asked me a question at the end. She goes, "You know what?" She goes, "Let me ask you something." She goes, "Do you think I'll ever see my son again?" And I thought, wow, that's
Mm.
what a question, right? And she's just looking at me like I have the answers.
Yeah.
And but I did have the answer. I had it and I had no problem answering it, right? And so I said, I said, you will see your son again. We will all see him again. We'll all see each other one day, right? And I said, you know what? Here's the science behind it, man. Our, the law of thermodynamics. What happens to our energy, our spirit? It goes on. It goes back into the ether. It goes back into the electric universe, right? It goes back, when we talk about God and divine intelligence, what does all that mean? It's really a matter of interpretation. Some people are obviously very stalwart. There's a God somewhere in green pastures, Is it? Maybe it is, maybe it's not. But then on the other side, there's the science, but the science and actually religion do intersect
Hmm.
quite a bit when you start studying it, right? And so, in the world of science, when we talk about energy, we talk about frequency, the law of vibration, right? Those are the terms we use to describe energy. But over here, when we talk about, Christianity, for example, like I was a Roman Catholic, we talked about the Spirit, the Holy Spirit, right? What is spirit? It's nothing but your energy. Same thing over here, right? And so to me, there is an intersection, quite a few intersections when it comes to these things. And people that will argue, well, God, made everything. Yeah, well, then God made the science. God made
Hmm.
the frequency, right? So don't be opposed to it. Embrace it. Go, yeah, it's God's creation then, right? Maybe it is, maybe it's not. I'm not here to argue one way or the other. What I'm trying to tell everybody is, do we really die? And I don't think so. Look, I mean, people say they see ghosts. They're actually not crazy. Some of them actually do see ghosts. I got a friend, I shit you not, very smart guy. He was a security manager at a very prominent mall hotel here in where I live. Um, and and so he is the security manager for everything. He knows everything. And one day we're having lunch. He goes, dude, I got to show you something, man. And so he shows me this video. And basically, here's what happened. It was like the 17th floor of this hotel. A woman walked in, and then a security guard just, for whatever reason, lost his mind and stabbed her to death. Just in the right there.
Jesus.
Right? It's outright murder, right? And nobody knows why. And so, um, he showed me some video years later from CCTV camera, and he goes, "Watch this." And you could see the door open. You could see somebody walking in, brushing up against the bushes and stuff in the hallway. And then you could see like what looks like a scuffle on the floor, right? And it's like just you could just see something is going on there. Probably the murder, right? And then it all stops, and then you see the elevator doors open and close again. And when I saw that, I was like, man, that is really.
That's
And
fucked.
everybody is freaking out in this building. Nobody wants to go that floor. And the security guards do. And this was years ago this happened. And a lot of people have seen the video there. I believe that, look, here's another example. What is a mirage? When you see a mirage in the horizon, okay. For example, you might see a palm tree, a camel, and some water, right, in the desert. But are you really? And then you walk in that direction. It's like there's no water, no tree, there's no camel. So what happened? What it is, I think, is when you have heat waves come off. What is heat wave? Radiation is frequency, right? That's all it is. It's a heat wave. It's frequency, right? And so what happens is your photoreceptors, your eyeballs, all they do is pick up energy, frequency. That's all they see, right? When we look at the whole world out there, everything is every shade of color, every hue of every color has its own frequency. Okay. And we're picking up, bazillion bits of frequencies from these colors, and we're basically projecting it back to the visual cortex, unscrambling it, and then projecting what might be a flat screen TV inside of our head, and we see these images, right? But our eyes really don't see the physical person so much as they see the frequency and they put it all together. And in fact, our whole body works that. All our senses only pick up frequency. When we touch things with our finger, it's called proprioception. We're just picking up the energy. It's called an afferent signal. It goes to the brain, then the brain goes, you know what? We need to get our hands off that stove. We're going to get burned because that's going
Hmm.
to hurt. And it sends the efferent signal down. We withdraw our hand. Speaking is nothing more than vibrations. I'm vibrating air molecules, right? Hearing, you're picking up frequencies. What are you doing? You're interpreting what I'm saying because all you're really hearing is frequency. But because you and I speak English, you've already learned that. You've already assigned words and meanings, it's all the little nuances, and so it becomes what language, right? So we're communicating in that sense. We also have what's called an ether around us. It extends out anywhere from 6 to 45 feet, depending on how healthy you are. But the average person is 6 feet. What is it? It's almost like an electronic field around us, right? And that's a really amazing part. And then when you get within close proximity of somebody else, you can kind of feel he's got bad vibes
Hmm.
or get bad vibe, right? And so why? Because we're in proximity to each other, and it's almost like our frequencies are overlapping, and which is interesting phenomenon, man. Because for example, when if my wife and I or anybody out there, you got a spouse or whatever, you got a boyfriend, I don't know, and when you look at each other's eyes and you're in love, what happens is your heart rates start to synchronize. Why is
Oh,
that?
whoa.
Because it's frequency. The closer I am to my wife and the more I'm around her, the more we almost become like one. We
Mm.
know what the other person going to say, what we're going to do. It's really, we can sense, it's like that with most people. When you're in a relationship long enough, it becomes like we know, like we're thinking the same stuff. And that's a real thing. It's not there, it's been proven by science that, we do communicate just through our frequency from our body. Literally around the world, we can do that. And I got tons of examples of that. I'll kind of spare that for later, um, but anyways, going back, so when I told her his mom, listen, I think I really did believe. I said, yeah, you're going to see him again. We're all going to see each other again. So we never really die. And I explained to her, laws of thermodynamics, and I said, look, even if you're not a science believer and you're a creationist, God's not going to let you just go poof, go away. He's going to do something with you, right? He's
Yeah.
going to either bring you to heaven or send you to hell, whatever, right? You're going to might be in purgatory for a minute while he's figured it out. But we never really stop existing. And and the more I've studied, particularly the science of it, listen, and I've studied the Bible, I've done all that crap, I've been through Liberty University, so I'm not a complete fool when it comes to God either. What I like to do is look at both sides of the argument, Um, and I always find it funny when, for example, there's a term called apologetics, where basically Christians try to prove God using science, right? And so to me, apologetics doesn't even never seem to really work out. It seems like a real stretch,
Mhm.
Um, but whether it's you believe in creationism or evolutionism, at the end of the day, we're going to be preserved in somehow, some way. We will be preserved. At least our soul, our spirit, I think will live on. And I was trying to convey that to her, and she was, like I said, she was just hanging on to my words, and I started getting a little technical, and then um, I remember I shared a really personal story. So my wife, you met my wife, right? Sorry, and very innocent, very innocent, man, and I remember one night we were watching TV and. I forget what the movie was. It was some type of sci-fi movie, right? And everybody was going to die, in the world and blah, blah, blah. And my wife looks at me, she goes, do you think she goes, you think we'll see each other again and after the afterlife? And I looked at her, I said, yeah. I said, I
Yeah.
know we will. Right. And she goes, well, and I broke my heart when she said it because she really meant this, man. I mean, there's some night, she's a little naive about this. And she goes, well, she goes, when you see me, make sure that you wave and say hello. I almost started crying, man. I mean,
Yeah.
even now, when I think about it, I was like,
Yeah.
oh, so, so innocent,
Yeah.
wrong woman, to say that. And, and it kind of, what it did is it kind of branded this image in my mind that I can't get out. And I keep seeing, me floating around in space. I see her floating in space, and we're waving at each other, trying to get to each other, or we're not trying to get to each other because we're meant to be alone after that forever, right? I don't know, man, but it gave me a weird sense. But yeah, it was, and I got really emotional when I was telling the story because that's how much I believe that we will live on. And when you do really believe that, you know, I'm very happy because I know that I'll see my father again, and other people I've lost, I get to see him again, and even if it wasn't true, does it matter?
No.
It doesn't matter if I feel happy about something that maybe won't be happy, maybe won't really
No.
happen. Right? And so either way, it's a win-win. And so, but the science supports it, and not only does science support it, but so does the Bible, and almost probably every religion dogma out there probably, believes that we're all going to continue to live on. So it brings us back to where we started, man, the robots,
Oh
and
yeah.
you know, it's a circle, man. It really is kind of a circle of life, but in our sense, it's both biological and it's also mechanical. It's physics. It's a lot of different things, but it's centered the core to all of this, the core to life, the core to everything. In the center of everything, literally is energy, physics. You know. Um, and so that's what kind of I think holds us all together. Um, it keeps us in the world that we live in. And so it's a good thing, man. We're not gonna die. And a lot of people know that and have known that, have intuitively known that. Um, how would they know that? Had they ever actually died and came back? No, it's because we all just know. There's just something programmed into us. We just know things. People call it intuition. Um, but we have lost touch with that humanity that we had, that we depended on. We kind of lost that and replaced it with cell phones and stuff like that. We become very, on one hand, we feel very secure, but on the other hand, we're very apathetic, And um, yeah, it's good to be alive at the end of the day. You know what? It's good to be alive. And I want to live longer. I want to be the guy that hits the 150, maybe 200-year mark. And I want to still be a stud too, by the way, which is possible. Just because you age doesn't mean you have to completely deteriorate.
Hmm.
I got video of dudes literally 99 years old and they are jacked bodybuilders. They got better bodies than 20-year-olds. Look, it's a number, man. Guys that are, that work out, women that work out, lift weights, especially build their legs, just live longer and healthier. Um, but yeah, it's exciting times, man. You and I are lucky. You're luckier than I am because you're younger than me. But we're in a time where um, I don't even, it's like a new renaissance, a whole new renaissance. Like, holy shit, next level sci-fi, robots, computers, eternal life if you choose it. Um, just fascinating, man.
Sometimes I think like robotics, like the idea of uploading yourself, and it's almost like we're trying to. That's our way of because we're like a science focused species. Like that's our way of like a whatever, like a World War I movie, a World War II movie. It's like, how do you fight the oncoming enemy? There's what you call an artillery support, or there's air support, right? more of like a mystical magic show that's manifested as like, the dragons are coming to help you or something or whatever, the dinosaurs, but it's still the same idea, like overwhelming firepower from an ally, but it's shown in different ways. And like a kids movie, it's whatever. It's almost like because we're a science focused species, we're we're trying to understand what eternal life would look like, and this is how it's manifesting in the same way of like you can imagine anything you want. Well, that's kind of like AI image generators. It's manifested as a website that you open up and you type into. But it's the same general idea of like letting your imagination run wild. And that's almost what it seems like is. So in our minds, we're like, well, what would living longer look like? And so we create these, biomechanical organisms made out of silicon crystal and whatever the fuck. And that's how we go longer. And that's so it's almost like there is no life, there is no death. This is how we this is how we're creating what it would look like to live longer. Like we're trying to like write ourselves out of a corner.
Yeah. And talk about robots, they've got what's called nanobots now.
Yeah.
There's small little computers in your blood system. And by the way, there's video of these things out there going out and going, okay, they're they're in the ovaries with a bunch of sperm, and they go, and it actually goes and grabs the healthiest sperm like a
Yeah.
fish and jams it in there, right? It's like it actually can go out and discriminate and find a healthy chromosomes of sperm and link them up. I mean, it's some next level stuff. But here's the question for you. So if you could live on in a robotic body, but remember they can program your brain for pain and pleasure, all the things that you do as we experience as humans, right? If you could experience everything in a robotic body, because actually the skin is now it's real skin. You've got actually maybe actually real blood running through your system. So if you could experience all the human emotions and pain, um, all of them, and you could function like a human, you could blend in like a human, you look like a human. All you know is that internally your working parts are probably some titanium shit. And so, but outside of that, and you could live forever, wouldn't you do it?
Yeah.
Would you do I mean, I would, right? Because like you said earlier, you can always check out when you want. It's like, I have
Yeah.
enough for this shit, fucking end it, right? Pull
Yeah.
the plug, remove the battery, or short yourself out by jumping in a freaking saltwater pool or something. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think that would just be so cool, And then you could really cut down the human population. It probably would happen naturally anyways, but we don't want to eliminate ourselves either, right? Um, but it would be a good way, I think, to control the population on the planet. Not that, man, by the way, 8 billion people on this planet is not a lot of people. It's
They
so
can hold
much
a lot more.
bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so bullshit, right? 8 billion is nothing, man. I think they said something. You could give everybody an acre of land in Rhode Island or something from the whole planet, and it all fit there and have a
Yeah,
lake or
no, yeah, no, we're like wildly underpopulated. I don't I don't think it would overpopulate because by the time you can upload shit to or by the time you have super long life extension, that implies that you're uploaded to a computer or a robot. So, the knee-jerk reaction is oh, the population would explode because we're not dying off. And sure, but I also don't think we'd be by the time we're uploading to robots, you don't necessarily need 3 meals a day. You're just plugged into a wall. So it might be, yeah, no one dies anymore, but it's an illusion, the idea that like, oh, we're gonna have to convert all of North America to farms to feed everyone. Well, no, you might just need a nuclear power plant, and that's how you feed everyone, right? It's like, but it's so I don't necessarily see the pop. I think people might still have. You might have kids, grandkids, great grand. You might instead of being like you meet your grandkids and maybe your great grandkids, it might become the norm that you just see like 20 generations after you. And then by the time you're doing robotics, you don't have to worry about interplanetary and interstellar radiation because you're not biological. So you would just keep fucking launching people to like different star systems. Like you wouldn't need, and if your mine's uploaded, well then theoretically all you'd have to do is send a receiver to a different planet, but then you could just beam there. Your brain could
You
just
know,
beam there.
have you seen the video? This is actually old video, man, of Elon Musk. He did an experiment apparently where he had a trained chimpanzee sitting in front of a screen, big screen TV, and he was playing paddle pong. The monkey was, chimp, right? And he had a Bluetooth transmitter in the back of his head. He had the extra antenna, little antenna sticking out, and he was connected into the PlayStation or whatever he was using, right? This machine. And so he's pretty good, right? The monkey's pretty good. And then what they did was they completely took the controller away from the computer, so the monkey had no hands to use to play the game, but he played the game anyways. They projected it on the screen, and the monkey was using his mind via the Bluetooth signal into the game box. It was actually controlling the paddle and was winning. And it's like, so this he's literally controlling the game with his mind.
Hmm.
So it's a human computer interface now. And this is not new. This is not really new so much in that this has already been done in some ways years and years ago. Even CIA and others, man. I mean, they'd hook a guy to a laptop halfway around the world. He had things all over his fingers and sensors, and then another guy on the other side of the world on a laptop, sensors, and the guy on this end scratch his head. The other guy would start scratch his head or halfway around the world. And so we're linked together just because of energy. Two biological things, connected by energy and frequency, and they're mimicking each other. So the whole was an the neutron, the whole I forget what's called this double splits,
Double, yeah,
double
double slit theory, or
double slit.
whatever,
Yeah,
not a phenom, whatever
yeah.
it's called.
Where everything moves at the same time, no matter how far away it is from each other. But yeah, man, science is getting to me. I'm getting very, very interested now. I actually watch a lot of educational television on everything from, ancient times to, the epigenetics, space. I want to know, man, where did we come from and where the hell are we going? That's what I want to know, man.
Yeah,
It's
it. I do think some like for me personally, just World War One, World War Two, it's like you maybe saw like curated news footage. Vietnam was different because they started airing like the unpopular, interviews with soldiers who were like smoking pot out of shotguns, and everyone was like, "What the fuck is this?" Like, and then so that's when like the DoD and Pentagon started limiting journalist access, and then you kind of see it again with GWAT. But what you really see on Twitter for the last 2, 3 years are like the videos from the first person drones, and aside from like a couple just retarded, just like Slava Ukraini, like we're gonna go kill them, most people, including like military guys, SF guys, most people are like, you're this is so fucked. And you see people on both sides being like, hey man, that kid's 18. He didn't start this Ukrainian Russian. Like you see him all the time. They're making the sign of the cross. You can see him yelling "mom" before the thing hits him. And again, aside from a few psychopaths, the almost universal response is like, "Hey, what the fuck are we doing? Like, the fuck is this?" And so if you look at that, and that's just a video on Twitter, just low resolution video, often without sound, and it elicits that response. I wonder if there's going to be something the next level is like, would this war keep going if, you could log on to Twitter and in a day, 100 million people could, for 10 seconds, feel what that kid's feeling? The fear, the fucking your life flashing before your eyes.
did
I
you
wonder how
there's
many people would just be like, holy, what the fuck?
there's actually a video out there like that right now. It's a Ukrainian and Russian guy in a knife fight on the
Yeah,
battlefield.
I've
Just
seen that. Well, yeah, yeah.
that's I mean that's I mean if you're seeing that, I mean that's really very personal combat.
Yeah, it's hard to.
Nothing you think.
Yeah. And it like that's yeah, like I mean I get, as you always say, we're the warring it, like I get it. I understand. I don't have like a naive view of the world. It's there are assholes, and all powers derive from the ultimate power, which is violence. Like I understand that. I understand it's a shitty part of life, just like death, just like whatever. But it does seem like I don't know. I guess I try to be optimistic. Like it's not all it's gonna go to fucking Terminator, Skynet, Matrix. Like that might happen, but it also might not. You can have we can have thermonuclear warfare, or we can have nuclear power plants that power a whole city with no you barely even see it. So I try to not naively, but just for my own sense of optimism and not dooming. I'm like, yeah, it might be that Skynet becomes self-aware and kills us all. It might be in 3 years no one can justify the funding for any, foreign war because you just tap in real quick and for 3 seconds you feel the terror and you're like, dude, I can't. It's because when I see these like drone videos, they're stuck in my head all day, and everyone else says the same thing. They're like, dude, I couldn't even focus on work, or I'm just thinking about that kid dying. Like it might be that times 1,000 to where you feel, smell, see, hear it all, and you're just like, hey, dude. Like that might drive you to be like, "Hey, I have to call my congressman. What the fuck, dude?" And it might so like I don't know that might be and just like videos can go viral. There might be like, "Hey, have you seen that viral whatever emotion?" And you see it trending, and you click on it, and it's just or it's a mother being told by some fucking military official like, "Hey, your son was killed in the action yesterday." It might be just it might be good. It might be that you can't just put your head in the sand and go, it's over there. It's over
I think,
there. It's
I think the other problem, but I think the downside would be if everybody's exposed to too much of that, they
it
become
also might
desensitized.
desensitize us and head us into
Right?
just a world of hell that is beyond imagination.
Right? Yeah. So yeah, that could go both ways.
Yeah, it might just I'm sitting here like, yeah, it's like no, we might go back to like a 50-year long World War I trench war like I don't know. I don't know. But I don't know. Maybe it desensitizes us, but it also doesn't matter because we're all uploaded to external hard drives on the far side of the moon, and it doesn't really matter if you die. Maybe we just start killing each other for fun because, like, it might just be like the entire world turns into a Call of Duty lobby. We're just blowing
Yeah.
the fuck out of each other because, you know, I don't know. Now, I am not realizing that I told everyone I was going to do a show about how to kill these things, and I realized we haven't said it. I don't know, Dale. You have any thoughts on that? I don't want because we've had a beautiful conversation instead
Kill
about
the, kill the,
life
kill
and the
those
afterlife.
robots.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
kill
Just
those.
shoot it in the face. Same thing as a human. I don't know.
Yeah, it can't be that hard, man. I mean, you hit it with a Teflon shotgun shell, man. It's going right through them. But yeah, that would be easy to do, take them all out. But yeah, we're not going to get away from it. It's coming. I mean, it's here. And a lot of people will lose their jobs
Oh
because
yeah,
it's already being replaced by automation, right? A lot of places now, and so people will lose their jobs. Lots of people will lose their jobs. They'll get replaced. But I think um, if you want to keep calm and peace, if you can give everybody utopia, give them all the things so they don't have to worry about being replaced. Like, I don't care. I don't care if he's doing my job now. I'm having fun. I'm going
yeah,
fishing. Yeah, life is good. That's why we're here, man. We weren't born and we don't live to work. We
yeah.
work to live, right? And if we don't have to work, I would rather just live and have a good time, right? And so, um, yeah, I'd be okay with, letting a robot do all the heavy lifting for me and let me just screw off as long as we're all look, and if we're all happy, we all have the same. And I don't want to sound like, in 30 years you'll have nothing, you'll be happy, the World Economic Forum
Yeah.
retards. But just imagine if you all the abundance that you wanted was available, um, yeah, everything was available to you. Yeah, you want to, I don't know, whatever it is you want, man, it's there for you, and no cost, it's all free. You know, we'd be awful spoiled. One, I think life would probably be really boring. But I don't know, man. I think about that.
It
If I could have thing I wanted, I probably would get spoiled. I'd probably lose my drive, my ambition. And yeah, I think we had the same problem. The species would just start to kind of devolve, man, and disappear. I think what keeps us going is,
The
you know,
struggle.
yeah, the struggle, man, the drive, I think that's what
Yeah.
keeps us going.
I think
So,
about that sometimes where I'm like, I'm like, oh, we can't do that commie bullshit. And it's like, well, the problem with communism is it gives you as a right something that requires the labor of someone else. And that's really it's just
yeah,
slavery with more steps. But it's like if it really was robots were just doing the manufacturing, the farming, the maintenance, the everything, it might be into my mind. I'm like, well, then no one would work. And it's like, yeah, but it might, you don't build a house for the sake of building a house. You build it to get away from the elements. It's cold, it's hot, it's raining. Yeah, no, shut the door. You're good. Even with this podcast, it's like I do it so much that, as it starts to make money, and sometimes I feel like a little guilty. I'm like, no, no, the purpose is for this to pay the bills. It's not to just toil forever. Like that's retarded. And if that's what you want to do, fine. That's what the gym's for, is you're never finished. But I'm like, yeah, no, it might be that that can be life. Hi, sorry. It might be that like that is
Let's see.
life. How are you? It,
I'm good. How about you?
I'm doing very good, thank you. But that's what it might be, is like what you guys are doing with like a bar. Like it might
Yeah.
be if you want to go still work, you can do that. But it also might be like, yeah, dude, if you just want to hang out on Earth and have a good time, and then what if people lose their drive? We're still gonna find ways to work, even video games. It's like
but you're right. We're already kind of living that, man. Um,
we're very close. We're like most of the way there.
Yeah, we're giving people free everything, right? Free
Yeah.
everything. And so they have no drive to better themselves. They're good with status quo. Like, this is enough for me,
And I,
So we're kind of there already, man.
and I think
This is probably
I think that's free will though. If that's what you want to do,
yeah,
it's not for me. I'm a psychopath. I have to keep working. But like, if you do just want to like put your feet up and enjoy essentially a lifelong summer vacation, I think that's fine. Like
yeah,
if that's not for me, I'd kill myself. But like if that's what you want to do, I think that comes down to free will, where it's like, yeah, you're allowed to do it. Sounds boring to me. It sounds like death. But
yeah.
yeah, I don't know. That's what I would think. Yeah. Um,
uh,
but yeah, I'll let you go. I know it's late as fuck there. I've kept you for an
yeah,
hour and a
no,
half.
no worries, man. I'll get you that other guy. We'll get him on here. You
Oh,
got to hear
please do.
this.
Yeah, no, send my info to him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
no, I just love the idea of somebody sitting through this show for an hour and a half. They're like, where do we get to the killing the robots? And it's like, yeah, same thing as a human. Shoot it in the face. I don't know. It's fuck off. I think there's
Yeah, or,
no
armor.
secret. Fucking kill it.
Yeah,
Blow it
yeah.
up. No
We just
Delta
have to.
Force secret.
Yeah, how hard could that be?
Yeah,
But
just take its fucking head
But
off.
now, would it be murder if you upload your brain your mind into the hardware and load the computer? If I shot the robot, would that be considered murder?
I don't think so. I think as long as you were backed up somewhere, it'd probably be like a misdemeanor. Like I could walk up to, that's gonna be like the next age of like pranks, is like walking up to your friend and executing him with a shotgun. Like that's gonna be like the new prank. Like, like, yeah, I don't know. It might just become wildly unserious. Um, but yeah, send that guy my info. And for everybody listening, please go in the description. You guys can follow Dale on Instagram. You can find his books, all that good shit, his training, and yeah,
Coaching.
dude. Yeah, and coaching. Yeah, coaching is all the links are in there. Um,
Yeah,
dude, appreciate your time as always.
yeah, brother. It's good to
All
see
right,
you
man.
again.
You as well, buddy. Thank you so much. Guys, thank you for watching.